reaction to what the president had to say regarding the need to immediately return that Israeli soldier?
Of course, the Israeli soldier was abducted and 2 Israeli soldiers were killed 35 minutes into the implementation of the ceasefire. It's important to mention to our viewers, this is the 6th ceasefire in 24 days that we accepted and Hamas violated. 6 times. 2 of the ceasefires actually were initiated by them. It only reemphasizes what we knew all along. Hamas is not interested in making peace. Hamas is presenting a hardcore, ideological, uncompromising view. And the only way to deal with that is, in the first place, to defend ourselves. And this is exactly what we intend to do.
If the Israeli soldier is confirmed to be in the hands of Hamas, how should Israel respond?
Well, you know, that's an operational detail. Of course, the Israel Defense Forces will do whatever they can to achieve all the military goals that were set forth by the Israeli cabinet. But again, you know, we are at war with an organization that is seeking our destruction, and we have no other choice but to defend ourselves. We're interested in achieving a situation of peace and stability and quiet, but again, our enemy is not interested.
You know, there's been a lot of concern about the number of civilians, the Palestinians that have died in all of this, and criticism directed at Israel. What's your response to that?
You know, it's interesting. The Israeli military chief of staff, Major General Benny Gantz, just the other night addressed the Israeli public in which he said, "It pains me as the person in charge of the military for every innocent civilian, uninvolved, as we refer to them in military language. When they get hurt, when they die, it pains me as the person in charge of this military." And the commander's spirit to the Israeli soldiers and to the Israeli public is, be sensitive to human lives. And I think that indeed we live up to that promise. When you look at what we do on the ground, we're the only military around that actually is aiding the enemy during time of war. The ground passages are open. 2,000 shipments went in already. Of course, we provide local Gazans with sufficient early warning. We actually call them to their cell phones. We call them to their homes to let them know that the Israel Defense Forces are operating in the area. So we do really take extra precautionary measures to avoid that. Having said that, I'm not familiar with a sterile war. There are no clean wars. War is a very bad thing. War is messy, and I say this as someone who experienced it.
You also are in a situation where this group, Hamas, a known terrorist organization, is putting their own people in the line of fire. But let me just ask you, what is it going to take to get this Israeli soldier back?
And again, we will do whatever we can to achieve all the military goals that were set. Of course, the lives of our soldiers is a primary concern for us, but the big picture is that the Israeli cabinet authorized the military to do 2 things in Gaza. One is to destroy the rocket system, and the other is to destroy the tunnel system. Both systems represent a strategic threat to the state of Israel.
Might there be a prisoner release agreement like with Gilad Shalit?
It's impossible to predict how the battle will develop, but we will have to wait and see how things develop on the ground. Right now, the situation is that for the 6th time in 24 days, Hamas violated a ceasefire that we complied with, we accepted, as the president said, we were committed to it.
You recently said on Twitter that Mohammed Abbas is beginning to see that his political alliance that he formed with Hamas was a strategic mistake. There is a feeling that perhaps more and more members of the Arab community might be realizing just exactly how bad an organization Hamas is, and that it's not in their interest to support it.
I think that you have plenty of evidence throughout the region that Arab leaders now begin to see what we have been telling them all along, that Hamas at the end of the day is no different than Al-Qaeda, no different than ISIS, no different than Boko Haram. They pose a threat to their regimes as well. This is the one thing that the viewers must know. With Hamas, we don't have a dispute that is territorial in nature. There is no deal to be made with Hamas. Hamas is seeking our destruction. With Mahmoud Abbas, is a different story. With the Palestinian National Movement, the dispute is basically and essentially national. Now, the ongoing historical failure of Yasser Arafat and following Yasser Arafat, Mahmoud Abbas, to effectively cope with their opposition represented by Hamas and Islamic Jihad is the main reason why we're now in Gaza trying to take out this terrorist infrastructure.
Given that the ceasefire was broken as quickly as it was, does this mean a future ceasefire is basically off limits? I mean, how do you get anything done at this point when that trust is violated?
Well, we have no high expectations of Hamas. Again, Hamas is an organization committed to killing all the Israeli people. All you have to do is look at their charter. So we don't trust them, especially not in light of the fact that they do not honor even their own word. So what we have to do is get the job done. We need to finish the job on the ground. The reason why it takes us
in other words,
long,
get rid of the tunnels.
Get rid of the tunnels, get rid of the rockets. We're not there to destroy Gaza. We're not there to occupy Gaza permanently. We're there to take out this terrorist threat that disrupts our lives for the last month. It's important to understand 2/3 of Israel's population of 8.2 million people are in bomb shelters for a month. Imagine 200 million Americans spending a month of their summer in bomb shelters, not to mention the devastating impact it has on the economy.
Can Secretary of State John Kerry get anything done here?
Well, again, the position of the Israeli government has been all along, we're interested in restoring peace and quiet. It's the other side, Hamas, that is uncompromising, not interested in any deal, not even in a ceasefire. They broke 3 humanitarian ceasefires that were supposed to help their people. They put their people in harm's way as a matter of ideology. Former President Bill Clinton said it openly. This has been their strategy for years.
What about Qatar and Turkey's role in all of this in terms of negotiations? How do you view them?
Well, you know, we certainly see certain number of players in the region, like Egypt and others, that play a very constructive role trying to bring about a ceasefire. Others side with Hamas for their own reasons. We think it's a big mistake to side with Hamas, again, for the very simple reason Hamas stands for something that stands in total opposition for the well-being of the people. They're not interested in the future. They're not interested in the good of their people. They'd like to take us all to the dark ages, if you may. It's part of that inter-civilizational clash.
Ambassador Ido Aharoni, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, we're going to have more Street Smart right after this.
Tune in for today's Morning Must.